I'm Larry Menti. This week on Jersey Matters, the historic statue controversy hits Jersey. There is a call to move the Columbus statue in one New Jersey town. Icons are falling in a sexual harassment uprising, and the rules are changing. We'll tell you what you need to know. And one of the most important battles of the Revolutionary War is refought in Trenton. All of that is coming up in just a couple of minutes, but first a few words. We begin this week in Monmouth Park Racetrack. This is the William Hill Sports Bar that was built specifically for legalized sports betting. Monmouth Park has been ready for sports betting ever since New Jersey voters passed a constitutional amendment all the way back in 2011 to legalize sports betting in the state. Since then, there have been several legislative and judicial roadblocks and detours. That all led to the Supreme Court, who heard arguments on the New Jersey case early this week. Now, if you believe the legal analysts who were listening carefully to the questions, sports betting should start in New Jersey sometime early next year. And casinos and racetracks all over the state, including Monmouth Park, are ready to go with the flick of a switch. And it's expected to bring in $10 billion in revenue to the state in the first year. And of course, that is going to mean jobs and tax money for the state of New Jersey to the tune of $1 to $1.5 billion. And this all makes Denis Drazin, the CEO and chairman of Monmouth Park Racetrack, very happy.
The case went very well. I was in Washington for the arguments. It was a really stimulating intellectual experience, but I could say to you, in my opinion, that New Jersey will win this case. I think that the justices believe in New Jersey's position. I anticipate a decision sometime in the spring, and I think we'll be engaging in sports betting here at Monmouth Park once the spring rolls around.
It's interesting you say it, because you are an advocate, and people might think you're biased in saying that, but just about everything I've read said that it's gone well for you. So you are not alone in that opinion. Why do you think it went so well?
I think it went so well because we always believed in the issues. We believed that from the standpoint of PASPA, which is the law that governs this betting activity, that... It's a federal law, right? Federal law. We always felt that it was constitutionally flawed. And when the court heard the arguments, it boils down to pretty much two issues and two ways that I think the court can go. There's a federal law that we believe commandeers New Jersey in violation of the Constitution to spend resources and enforce a law that the New Jersey citizens have said they don't want, and the politicians and our governor have determined, should be changed. And so we did a partial repeal of the laws, which the court the first time around had said we could do. And lo and behold, the leagues came in to try and stop us again. So the one theory is that the partial repeal that New Jersey did in 2014 is valid, and we can operate in that environment. And the other argument is that PASPA itself is unconstitutional, because if in fact it commandeers the states to keep a law on its books that they don't want, that's not permissible under our Constitution. It raises 10th Amendment arguments, and the justices seemed to grasp all of the arguments, and I felt very confident at the end of the hearing that we will prevail.
It's interesting the two ways. With the first way, with the repeal, that's New Jersey specific, right? Other states would then have to, if they wanted to have sports betting, would then have to do the same thing. They'd have to repeal laws or pass legislation. Is that correct?
They would have to repeal laws, but it doesn't necessarily mean it has to look exactly like New Jersey's. They could determine within the confines of their own states the scope of the partial repeal that they want to enact for their state.
But there would have to be a second step.
There would have to be another step.
On the second one, if they just say it's unconstitutional, everybody across the country, if I'm correct, can start sports betting, right?
Well, if they say it's unconstitutional, then each state still needs to enact laws to permit the activity in their state.
So everybody, it's the second step for everybody except New Jersey. You'll get a little bit of a head start.
Correct, we will.
And you're ready to go immediately?
We're ready to go probably 2 weeks after the court decides the case. There will be some logistics that we need to deal with. We're not sitting around waiting. We feel confident that we will prevail. As you can see from this venue that we built in 2013.
You're talking about the sports bar we're sitting in.
The sports bar, the William Hill Sports Bar. We invested $1 million here, getting ready to go in 2013 since we were stopped. In the interim, always thinking that we would ultimately prevail. We've done other things with this room in terms of free play. We've done some fantasy sports. We've turned it into a real sports bar to try and start accumulating a fan base and obtain data so that we can solicit people to come to our venue when we can take real sports bets.
And you don't think that your win will be diluted if other states can do it? Because certainly when casinos opened in Pennsylvania and casinos opened in New York, it hurt the casino industry in New Jersey. But you don't believe that sports betting in Pennsylvania and Delaware and New York is going to hurt you at all?
Not at all, because when we examine the market, we believe, and others have different numbers, but if you're fair to everybody, you could take a number anywhere from a range of $150 billion a year to $400 billion a year, which is the illegal market in this country at the present time. So when we analyze this, what we say is looking at the demographics of New Jersey compared to the statistics in Nevada. We believe that New Jersey's market share of the whole country is $10 billion, and that will never change. We think that's the market for New Jersey, and if it's an intrastate system, each state is going to retain the revenues that were generated in their state.
How will it be regulated in the state? Can somebody down the street start sports betting too?
No. So the partial repeal would limit it to racetracks and casinos. And if there's a total repeal, then that would be something in the future that we would have to look at, but that's not what's being talked about.
But you're confident the state's going to regulate it and legislate it, even if it is declared unconstitutional?
No, if it's declared unconstitutional, then I would think the state will pass new laws.
That's what I mean. That
will regulate the industry, define locations, and probably, do a number of other things. So if PASPA is unconstitutional, the state may go back and license it, they may regulate it. If the court says that the partial repeal is valid, then there is an independent sports wagering association that would regulate the industry. It would be privately regulated, not state regulated, and that would be the format that the public gets protected in. But again, in that scenario, it's racetracks, casinos, former racetracks.
Right, I think that's what I was saying, but I'm glad you put it better.
That's okay.
How much will the state see in taxes? Has that been figured out?
Depends which way this is resolved. So the state would see in taxes the corporate taxes from racetracks and casinos and the gaming operations that are operating, and there would be the normal tax base that's based upon what the state has enacted. If in fact this goes to a fact where PASPA is unconstitutional, it's my opinion, but I can't predict what the state would do, but New Jersey needs money. We need to do a lot of things for our citizens. We need to address a lot of issues. The new incoming governor will have issues that he has to look at to raise money. And I think there's a likelihood that if there's new legislation passed, there will be a tax that's imposed. So right now in the casino industry, between the casino tax and the CRDA tax, it's about 9.25%. For the fantasy sport regulation, it's 10%. For the online gaming, it's 15%. So I'd anticipate if there's new legislation, the state will determine what's a fair tax rate, and then they will tax everyone that engages in the activity.
And that'll be another fight for you.
Not a fight. We'll pay our share.
A bit of a fight. Congratulations, by the way, on the new title.
Thank you so much.
Denis Drazin, the CEO and chairman of Monmouth Park Racetrack. When we come back, we're going to talk more about taxes, specifically property taxes, and how the fact that the feds aren't giving you the deduction on property tax anymore may work out statewide. We'll explain when Jersey Matters continues.